Welcome to the New Life Stories channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching.
There was a wedding party in a posh restaurant in the center of the city. The guests sang and danced, the orchestra played cheerful music, and the tables were full of delicacies. But the bride was sad and tired, as if it was not her party. The groom, sitting at another table, was getting more and more drunk. The girl's mother-in-law entertained the ladies of high society, and poor Pamela sat alone, feeling lonely and sad. Her legs and back ached badly, her stomach was in discomfort due to her pregnancy, and the corset of her wedding dress was pressing against her stomach, causing even more pain. The woman thought, "I asked my husband's in-laws to organize the wedding early before my belly got so big, but my mother-in-law found 1,000 excuses to postpone the wedding as long as possible. Pregnant with triplets, and now I have to dance, party, and pretend to feel good." Pamela felt really bad and went to the bathroom. She now had to go to the bathroom very often because of her complicated pregnancy. She struggled to get up from the table and walked out of the restaurant hall holding onto the long hem of her dress. Although she saw her mother-in-law Olivia discussing the event with some important lady, she didn't even notice it. "Angelica, darling, I don't even know how to get over such drama. My son Dylan went crazy and brought this girl from the orphanage to our house. Plus, she's pregnant with triplets, so we had to organize the damn wedding. I almost fainted. I don't know what sins the universe is punishing me for, you know. I'm not even sure it's my son's kids. That girl is very cunning. She'll do anything to be rich. Maybe she's lying to my son, but my son Dylan is too trusting as a child. He said he loves her madly, and he doesn't care what I say. I thought he was marrying Regina, the architect. She's such a sweet girl, not like that silly Pamela." Pamela felt so bad, so hurt, that she coughed loudly. Olivia flinched in surprise, turned around and smiled as if nothing had happened. "Honey, are you okay? You look so sad. I'll tell the driver to take you home. You need some rest. You look really bad. We'll do without you." The bride nodded, swallowing her tears. She really felt bad, especially after hearing those disgusting words from her mother-in-law, and she had decided to leave her own wedding. There were strangers all around. She didn't even have anyone to talk to. These rich, arrogant people looked at her with mild contempt. At home, she cried for a long time. She hoped that her husband would notice that she had left the restaurant and at least call her, but no. Dylan came home in the morning drunk, smelling of alcohol and other feminine perfumes. He immediately fell on the bed and fell asleep without even undressing. Pamela felt even worse, thinking sadly, "This is not the wedding I dreamed of. This is a miserable imitation of a holiday." Under the loud snoring of her husband, the young pregnant woman lay in bed and thought about how wonderful their love had begun. Pamela had disliked her name since childhood. It seemed too silly and ridiculous. It was given to her by the caretakers of the orphanage. Someone left her near the entrance of the orphanage when she was 3 years old. Home life, the girl did not remember much, only scandals, tears, pleas for help, and fragments of women's words. "Get up, let's go, and don't cry. I can't afford to bring you up. You will live somewhere else." Pamela had no idea who she was or where she came from. She had no records or birth certificate with her. At 3 years old, the girl could barely speak, didn't know her name, and was very afraid of people. Little by little, she accepted her situation, but remained quiet and not very sociable. Her childhood in the orphanage was like a nightmare. Every day was the same. Early rising, going to lessons, lunch. Everything was strictly scheduled. The other children resisted this routine and organized boycotts and tantrums. They found it unbearable, but Pamela had never known any other life, so she accepted everything calmly, thinking it was just the way it should be. She studied very well. Her teachers liked her for her analytical mind and obedient character. After graduating from the orphanage, she was even helped to get her own apartment. The apartment was in a very old house, but still very cozy. Pamela dreamed of becoming a doctor, so she entered medical school. She also worked part-time as a nurse at the hospital because she needed money to survive. Pamela was a pretty, petite, slender girl with beautiful curly hair. Many guys liked her, but the girl was in no hurry to get into a relationship with anyone. She promised herself that first she had to get an education and start earning enough money, and only then she could get married. But the reality turned out to be different. One day she was examining a patient after an operation. He was an attractive young guy with brown eyes. Pamela liked him immediately. The guy was polite and well-mannered and showered her with pleasant compliments. A friendship developed between them, which quickly turned into love. Dylan turned out to be a guy from a rich family. His father was a businessman and his mother worked in the city administration. At first, Pamela was shy to tell the truth about her life, but she did not want to lie, so she honestly told him that she was an orphan and had poor parents. But Dylan took the news normally and only praised her. "I admire you even more now. You achieve everything on your own. You manage to study and work. It's unbelievable. I'm not capable of that. My father sent me to study in another country, but even there he tortured me under his supervision, and my mother was always giving me advice, teaching me about life, as if I was a small child and didn't understand anything." "I was sick of it," Dylan said. Pamela countered, "You have no idea how happy you are. If someone took care of me like that, I'd be the happiest person in the world. If you think that complete independence is cool, you are wrong. There is no one who could support me, and it's very hard." The young people began a relationship. Pamela was madly in love with Dylan and of course could not resist, and all her promises made to herself were soon broken. It seemed to the girl that she was now the happiest person in the world. Dylan was so tender and caring, and promised that they would be together forever, and nothing could keep them apart. Her college friends were so jealous when her fiancé would pick her up after class and a proud and happy Pamela would walk hand in hand with him to the car. She thought she was incredibly lucky because so many girls liked Dylan, but he fell in love with Pamela. But after a few months, everything changed. The girl started to feel nauseous. She wanted to sleep all the time and cried for no reason. Pamela decided to take a pregnancy test. It was positive, so she was shocked. What should she do? They had only been dating for a short time. Dylan hadn't even introduced her to his parents, and she was already pregnant. It wasn't part of their plans. They dreamed of going on a vacation to the sea together, but they didn't think about anything serious yet. Besides, Pamela had not finished her studies yet. She was still like a child herself. It was too early for her to think about children. She didn't know how to tell her fiancé that she was pregnant, so she hesitated for a couple of weeks and then finally decided to talk to him. "Honey, I have to go to the doctor tomorrow. Will you come with me? I really need your support, please." The worried fiancé agreed. "Sure, what's wrong? Are you sick?" Pamela answered evasively. "Well, in a certain way, we'll find out tomorrow." Dylan accompanied Pamela to the ultrasound and the results shocked them both. She was having 3 children. Even the doctor was shocked. He looked at the screen and repeated, 1, 2, 3. "No way, you're having triplets. Congratulations, that's very rare. I don't remember anything like that in my medical practice." Dylan was outraged. "How could this happen? You're a future doctor, you should have thought about birth control." "It's wishful thinking, Dylan. How am I supposed to tell my parents about this? They'd kill me. Where are we going to live? In your little apartment? No way, I don't have my own place yet. My father promised to give me an apartment for my wedding, but now I don't even know how he will react to all this," the girl cried. "I don't know what to do either. I'm not ready for a pregnancy either. I need to finish my studies. And don't yell at me, it's not my fault alone. Are you going to leave me now?" Pamela said. "Ha, of course you're going to leave me. You don't need an orphan pregnant with triplets." Dylan put his arms around her, pulled her close and said, "Don't cry. Stress isn't good for you. I'm not leaving you. They are my children too. We have to tell my parents the truth and get married. It's okay, we'll get through this together. I don't know how though." Pamela calmed down and cheered up, and soon Dylan invited her home for dinner. But Dylan's parents didn't like her right away and acted arrogant. "Mom, Dad, I have something to tell you. Pamela and I love each other, and we're about to have triplets, so we need to get married. Please don't look at me like that, we're shocked too." His mother, Olivia, cried out and clutched at her heart, while his father frowned silently. Then there were long, humiliating questions and arguments about Pamela's background, and his parents hated her even more. Not only was she pregnant, but she was a penniless orphan. Such a girl was not fit to be the wife of their only son. But there was nothing they could do. They had to accept their son's choice. They decided that Pamela and Dylan would live in his parents' mansion, and Pamela's apartment would be rented out. And so Pamela began a very different adult family life. Now she didn't have to work part-time because her fiance's family was adamantly against it. Fortunately, she was at least allowed to finish her studies. She wanted her and Dylan to be married before everyone saw her belly. Pamela imagined how she would dance with her beloved and tried on different styles of dresses and jewelry. After all, a wedding isn't just a party, it's a symbol of love, a lifelong memory. But Olivia had deliberately postponed the wedding day 3 times, making new excuses. First, she'd gotten sick, then there had been an emergency at work, and then she hadn't liked the restaurant. In general, Olivia was a grumpy, arrogant person. This woman seemed incapable of compassion, respect, or good deeds. Her family and co-workers were under her control and obeyed her unconditionally. She smiled kindly at Pamela, but as soon as Dylan came home from work, she immediately invited him into her office and started an argument. "Dylan, do you know what happened today? She ruined your silk shirt. She lies in bed all the time, rolling over from one side to the other and won't do anything." "Dylan, honey, you just met her. Are you even sure these are your kids? Why would you want that kind of responsibility? What's so unusual about this girl? No intelligence, no college education, no family. Do you have any idea what it's like to raise 3 kids? It's crazy. You're so young, you have your whole life ahead of you. But you're condemning yourself to sleepless nights. Come to your senses before it's too late." But Dylan was furious. "Mom, what are you suggesting I do? Kick Pamela out, considering she's pregnant? What will people think of us? And anyway, I love her. You're right, I don't want kids and I don't even know what they are, but I guess I'll get used to it. Anyway, I don't have a choice." The woman smiled sweetly. "Actually, you do have a choice, and you don't even have to kick her out. I have another idea." After conversations like this, Dylan was annoyed and angry. It seemed he wasn't excited about being a father anymore. Even the wedding didn't feel like a real wedding. Dylan only said something inarticulate and nervously put the ring on Pamela's finger. And then he didn't even notice her absence. Is this the behavior of a loving man? The tenderness, care, and warmth were gone. Was it because she was pregnant? Because they both weren't ready for it. 2 weeks passed, but no wedding trip was planned. Dylan's parents counted the money given to the newlyweds themselves and wouldn't even let Pamela see the wedding gifts. They began to argue with Dylan more and more often. He became annoyed that she was awkwardly wriggling and fidgeting all night, preventing him from getting a good night's sleep. So her husband started sleeping in the other bedroom. Pamela took great offense to this. She missed him very much and she wanted hugs, warmth, and affection. Also, she wanted support because she was dreading childbirth. After all, she was having triplets and she was afraid something would go wrong. Pamela was not ready for motherhood. She tried to stay calm, thinking that when Dylan held the babies in his arms, he would love them and everything would change. But the very next day, her husband upset her even more. "I'm leaving tomorrow on a business trip for about 3 weeks. I have important business matters to take care of." Tears came to the woman's eyes. "Dylan, is it really that urgent? I don't want to stay in this house with your parents. What if the labor starts early? What am I going to do then?" The doctors said it's never happened in their medical practice and they're not sure if they should do a C-section. "I'm scared, Dylan. How can you leave me alone at such an important time? Please stay. Don't scare me anymore." Her husband frowned. "You're definitely not going into labor this month. Please read less nonsense. You're at least a month away from labor and you're not alone. If anything happens, my parents will take you to the hospital. Why are you so irritable? I work hard for both of us. I make money for our family, honey. I'm at the beginning of my career now, and I need to prove myself as an ambitious and responsible employee." Pamela took offense, but didn't make a scene. She only saw her husband off on a business trip and waited for him. Life in the rich mansion reminded her of an orphanage. Everything was strictly on schedule, just the way Olivia wanted it, and no one cared about Pamela's opinion. No one noticed her as if she didn't exist, and it was humiliating. One night she felt sick, and Pamela went into labor. She barely made it to her mother-in-law's room and started screaming, "Help me, please help me, help me." Olivia looked out and said tiredly, "Why are you screaming? You haven't even given birth yet and there's already no peace in this house. What's wrong?" Pamela screamed in pain and begged for help. She was getting worse by the minute. Her mother-in-law immediately called an ambulance and said, "Okay, we need to pack your bag. Where's your ID? And please don't yell like that. Where's the ambulance? I don't want you to give birth in my house. Pamela was taken to the hospital. Her situation was critical. She could have lost her children. Doctors fought for her life and the lives of the babies for 24 hours. In the end, everything went well, but Pamela had to stay in the hospital for safekeeping just in case. The young woman tried to call her husband. She wanted him to come back early to support her, but his phone was unavailable. Her mother-in-law wasn't returning her calls either. Pamela felt nervous. What's going on? Are they all ignoring me? I don't understand. Fortunately, Pamela had money in her pocket, but it was enough for a week at most. More than a week passed and still no one came to see her. Dylan's phone had been unavailable for over a week. Scary thoughts began to cross her mind. Had Dylan left her and changed his phone number? Pamela cried desperately and was very nervous. The other women in the maternity ward tried to comfort her. Pamela also made friends with a nurse named Melanie. She felt sorry for Pamela and tried to distract her by talking, but Pamela was not getting better. One day Pamela asked Melanie, "Could you go to this address and find my husband and give him my note? Or at least ask him if he's back from his business trip. What if something terrible happens to Dylan? Please help me." The nurse agreed to help, and on the next shift came to Pamela and told her something that shocked the poor woman. "Your husband is perfectly healthy. I saw this idiot getting into a car with some rich woman. I ran up to him, tried to give him your note to explain everything, but he only calmly said, 'You're wrong. I don't know any Pamela. I'm sorry.' He didn't even read the note, just tore it up and threw it away. So darling, get ready for some hard times. He dumped you and decided to forget about everything. It's a nightmare." Pamela cried and water poured from under her feet. The nurse realized, "You're in labor. I'll get the doctor." Surprisingly, the labor went well. She didn't even need a C-section. 2 boys and a girl were born. Pamela looked at her babies and cried with joy and pain. She was completely lost and didn't know what to do. How was she going to live now? She hoped for a miracle, that it was some mistake, some bad dream, hoped that Dylan would come to his senses and take her away from the maternity hospital. But the miracle never happened. The day after tomorrow, she would be discharged from the hospital, but she had nothing at all for that. Pamela was very nervous and asked Melanie for help again. "Melanie, I have no one else to turn to. Please help me. I have an apartment that there are tenants living there now. Can you go there and tell them to move out? I need somewhere to live." The nurse comforted her. "Don't worry, honey. I'm going to help you. You know what? I'll have my brother bring flowers and balloons. After all, you should be in a holiday mood. Raymond is very sweet and kind and helpful. He's a very good man. He saved a kid once. The boy was almost hit by a car and Raymond saved him, at the cost of his own health. Now he limps on one leg. Oh, come on, don't cry. It won't be easy at first, but I'll help you. I'll call the mayor's office. Triplets are rare in our town, so maybe they'll give you a bigger apartment and financial support. My brother and I will help you too. I can see you're a decent woman, but your husband was a scoundrel. It will be hard while the children are young, but when they grow up, they will protect and support you. Look at me. I have no children, but my life is even harder than yours." The day of discharge came. The whole staff of the maternity ward helped Pamela to pack because people from the mayor's office came to meet Pamela and the babies at the hospital. The triplets surprised everyone. Even reporters from the local TV station came. They were surrounded by people from the mayor's office, asking questions and promising to help her with a 3-bedroom apartment. Then Melanie and Raymond helped her into a cab and walked her home. Pamela walked into her tiny apartment and sighed heavily. How would she cope with 3 children on her own? She had no stroller, no crib, nothing, and she was so hurt by Dylan's behavior. But she decided that she would survive to spite everyone and prove that she didn't need such a man. At the same time, the quarrels in Dylan's family did not stop because of the fact that the TV showed a report about a mother who gave birth to triplets. Of course, everyone saw that Pamela was accompanied by some man, but the TV report was short. They mostly filmed Pamela and her children. Olivia shouted, "Look at her! I told you those babies weren't yours, but you didn't believe me." The baby's real father picked her up from the hospital. I'd also asked our driver to follow her and record everything on camera. He was supposed to capture everything that was going on. Soon we'll see who she cheated on you with. Dylan hesitated. What makes you think it was the father of her kids? Maybe she asked someone to pick her up from the hospital, Mom. I shouldn't have done that to her. Why did you even ask me to do that? I love Pamela, but you're making me leave her. Olivia continued to yell, "Why are you so stupid? Why won't you believe me? Okay, when my driver brings you the video, you'll see who your wife was with. I don't want grandchildren from another man. What's more, I'll make sure she doesn't get an apartment from City Hall. She has no money to live on, so she will come to us soon and beg for forgiveness. We already know the truth and will never forgive her. She's so insolent. You can see she grew up in an orphanage." Dylan was weak and always lived by his mother's instructions. He never had an opinion of his own, so even though he loved his wife and his conscience tormented him, he dared not disobey his mother. But he hoped that Pamela would really come to him for help and they would make up. The driver gave the flash drive with the video to Olivia when she was on her way to an important presentation. Olivia had spent a long time preparing for it, making many interesting slides. She gave an opening speech and inserted the flash drive into her laptop so that everyone could see her presentation on the big screen. Except she got it all mixed up and inserted the one with the video instead of the right flash drive. When Pamela and Raymond appeared on the screen together, everyone was shocked. Many of those present today had attended Dylan's wedding and met Pamela in person. But why wasn't Dylan by her side? And who was the man picking her up from the hospital? Olivia realized what a stupid mistake she had made, immediately changed the flash drive to the correct one, apologized, and continued her presentation. One of the entrepreneurs, Christian, didn't watch the presentation at all. He was out of breath because he recognized the man in the video. It was Raymond. It was the same stranger who saved his 8-year-old son in the roadway a year ago. The thing is, the boy's father was on an extended business trip at the time. Upon arrival, he looked at the video from the cameras at the intersection where everything happened and remembered the face of the savior of his child. But it remained unknown who he was and where he was from. While the ambulance tended to the child, he drove away. He had even refused medical attention, and now Christian saw him again. The man didn't want to waste time, so he found out through friends that Olivia's son had left his wife and children, found out where Pamela now lived, and went to see her. It was the only chance I had to find out anything about this man. Knowing that he was going to visit the young mother of triplets, the man bought toys and some necessities for the babies. A pale and very thin young woman opened the door and invited him in, although she was very surprised to see him. "But please hurry up. I have 3 children. You can hear them crying. It's time to feed them." Christian held out the goodies to her and asked, "Of course, I won't take up much of your time. Who was the man who picked you up from the hospital? I happened to see the video. I really need to talk to him, but I don't know how to find him." "Oh, I almost forgot. I also bought presents and groceries for the kids." Pamela felt very embarrassed and replied, "Thank you so much. The man's name is Raymond. He is the brother of the nurse from the hospital. He is a very nice guy. He helped me a lot. My husband abandoned me and our children, but we'll survive without him. I'll give you the address of the hospital where you can find Melanie." Pamela's life was indeed difficult. There was no income other than child allowance from the government, but even that wasn't enough. Raymond and Melanie helped her as much as they could. They found old cribs, brought her baby clothes and a baby bathtub, but they couldn't find a stroller for the triplets. Pamela slept 2 hours a night. She had no time to rest at all. She looked like a pale ghost and had lost at least 10 pounds. Whenever Billy started crying, Max would cry too, and when they calmed down, Noah would cry. She couldn't have done it without the help of Melanie and Raymond. Pamela made up her mind, however, and was the first to file for divorce. When Dylan received the letter from the court, he could not believe his eyes. The boy immediately ran to his mom. "Mom, it's over. Pamela has filed for divorce. I already got the letter from the court. But you promised that she would come apologize and make up, that she couldn't raise 3 little ones alone. What do I do? What do I do now? I thought you were right. I thought I should enjoy life like I used to, going out to nightclubs with my friends. I didn't want the responsibility. I even slept with some girl the other day, but I didn't. It doesn't bring me joy anymore. I miss Pamela." Olivia became very angry after the video incident and started yelling at her son. "Don't be such an idiot. If she doesn't ask for our help, then I was right about everything. Apparently this man is the father of her babies. She cheated on you with him. Relax and forget about her. What's so special about her? She's not the last girl on the planet. Pamela was trickier than I thought, but I'm glad she filed for divorce. We would never have accepted her children as members of our noble family, and since she filed for divorce herself, she wouldn't have to pay alimony. At this time, Christian finally found Raymond and came to visit him. The man began to thank him. "Hello, Raymond. I am the father of the boy you saved from death. I see that you are hurt. I didn't know. I tried to find you, but I was unsuccessful. Thank you so much. What can I do for you?" Raymond looked embarrassed and started to speak. Anyone would have done the same thing if they were in a similar situation. Your son accidentally rode his bicycle into the roadway. The driver of the car didn't have time to react. He tried to stop, but the speed was too fast. There wasn't time to think too hard. I'm glad I was able to help your child. I thought I was just badly bruised, but it turns out I broke my leg. It was a compound fracture and the bone didn't heal properly, so I'm limping badly now. Christian was shocked. I'm very sorry about that. Thank you very much again. Can I ask you one question? Who is Pamela to you? I was at her place today when I was trying to find you. She is very thin and pale. It must not be easy to handle 3 children alone. I met her by chance. My sister works at the hospital and asked me to help Pamela. Her husband left Pamela and their kids and now she's suffering. That asshole didn't even give her any money. My sister and I help Pamela as much as we can, but we're not rich either. You know, I didn't always live like this. I had a good job with a big company and then I got framed, accused of stealing, and now I'm also lame so I can't get a good job. I'd really like to buy Pamela a wheelchair, but a new one costs a lot of money, Raymond explained. Christian listened attentively without interrupting and marveled at the man's compassion and courage. Raymond, I'd like you to work for my company. What do you think about it? You'll be a middle manager first, and then you can get promoted. You'll have a decent salary and a comfortable job. Don't worry about the stroller, I'll buy it for Pamela. Raymond rejoiced. Thank you very much. I'll gladly accept it. I won't let you down. From that day on, everyone's life changed. Raymond started working for a large company and turned out to be an excellent employee. Christian was very pleased with Raymond's work and paid him generous bonuses. The businessman kept his promise and bought the triplets a nice stroller. Pamela was overjoyed when she saw it. She would never have been able to buy such a stroller. Now walking with the babies was no longer a challenge, but a joy. Pamela and Raymond became very close. The guy became part of their family, took care of her and the babies, helped her in everything. And they were very comfortable together. The pain of her husband's infidelity began to subside. Pamela realized that she and her ex-husband were completely different people, and between them was probably not true love, but passion. Now she had no regrets about the divorce. Christian and Raymond helped Pamela get a 2-bedroom apartment from the mayor's office. Time flew by quickly. The children were already in kindergarten, and Pamela finally found a decent job. She organized her schedule properly and managed everything. And Raymond was always by her side, like a faithful knight, which made her feel calm and happy. The kids called him Daddy, and he hugged them tightly. Things weren't going well for Olivia's family. The woman was dismissed from her position, and her husband's business was on the verge of bankruptcy. Dylan began to drink a lot of alcohol and constantly accused his mother that she destroyed his family. He could not forget the gentle and loving Pamela. He even tried to make up with her, constantly calling her. But now his ex-wife ignored him and turned off her phone as he had once done. Their family was not welcomed in high places after everyone found out what a terrible thing they did to their daughter-in-law and 3 grandchildren. Dylan started gambling in casinos and lost the rest of his parents' money. At night he partied with girls, but they didn't bring him even a fraction of the warmth that Pamela had given him. Olivia was in a panic. She saw his life falling apart and realized that it was all because of her. She hated her former sister-in-law even more. She wanted nothing more than to laugh at her, to teach that stupid girl a lesson. She expected Pamela to come to them in desperation, begging to be let in like a stray dog, but that's not how it turned out. Not only did her sister-in-law not seek help, but she filed for divorce. Now Pamela was living in wealth because Raymond got an executive position in Christian's company. So the woman decided to offer her son another dirty plan. "Dylan dear, will you forgive me if I take the children away from Pamela? After all, they will live with you, you are their father," Olivia suggested. Dylan perked up and replied, "I'd give anything for that." Olivia immediately went to court, making Pamela nervous, but her dirty plan went awry. Olivia didn't take into account that they had told everyone that Dylan wasn't the father of her children. They were the ones who said that Pamela had cheated on Dylan and that Raymond was the real father. So Pamela went to court and calmly said, "Dylan is not the father of my children, so leave me alone and let me live my life in peace." Olivia screamed, "You're lying. You're just getting revenge on our family. That's why you don't want the children to have contact with their real father. But I'm going to prove it. I'll do a DNA test." Pamela exclaimed, "You have no right to do that without my permission, and you will never get my permission. Get out of my life. You told everyone that I only married Dylan for the money. You convinced everyone that I was cheating on my husband. You then left me in the hospital with 3 kids and wanted me out of your life. Be happy. I'm not in your life anymore. Why aren't you happy?" Raymond hired a brilliant attorney, and thanks to his tactics, the court supported the children's mother and dismissed the case. On his way out of the courtroom, Dylan grabbed Pamela's hand and pleaded, "I'm sorry, darling, please. I was so stupid. I didn't mean to do that to you. But my mother made me. I still love you. I can't forget you." Pamela jerked her hand away and looked at her ex-husband with disdain. "You can't forget me, and I don't want to remember you. You know, a husband and father should be able to protect his wife and children, but you're not capable of that. You do whatever your mom tells you to do. You know, Dylan, I'm actually grateful to you. I really am. If you hadn't betrayed me so cowardly, I never would have met a decent man and I never would have been happy. Goodbye. I'm never coming back to you." She walked away, tapping her heels confidently. Dylan felt like screaming. He realized he'd ruined his own happiness. After the trial, he practically lost his mind, became an alcoholic, and began to hate his own mother. Soon he started gambling again and lost his mansion and possessions. The gangsters had taken everything for debts, but it wasn't enough for them. Olivia now looked at least 15 years older. In desperation, she told the bandits that Dylan had children and that they could kidnap them and get a large sum of money. In this way, she wanted to pay off her son's debt. In addition, she wanted to punish Pamela. Olivia no longer realized that she was the one who had ruined her family's life. The woman believed that Pamela was the cause of all her problems and misfortunes. One day, Pamela picked up the children from kindergarten after work and decided to go for a walk in the park. The children liked to play there on the playground. The woman took out her cell phone and wanted to call Raymond to ask what to make for dinner. Suddenly, she heard other moms yelling, "Who the hell are you? Where are you taking the kids? Stop." Pamela saw 2 hooded men grab her children, put them in a van, and drive them away. She ran after them, tripped, fell, and screamed as loud as she could, "Help! Somebody help me! They've kidnapped my children." The van disappeared over the horizon. Pamela screamed like a madwoman. Someone called an ambulance and the police. Raymond found Pamela in the hospital. The paramedics gave her a sedative and she kept repeating, "Raymond, find the children, I beg you. I'll die without them." Maybe they've already killed them, or tortured them, or sold them. Who could have done this and why? Tell me. The man hugged her and promised, "Don't say that. The police are already looking for them. They will find the children soon. But you have to help them. You need to talk to the investigator. Try to describe the kidnappers and their car as accurately as possible. Please, a lot depends on it." Fortunately, Pamela had memorized the license plate number, which helped her find the van. The van was tracked down on the way out of town near the woods. The children began searching the area, but there were no results. Pamela pleaded with Raymond, "Let's go there, please. I'll find my children myself." The man hesitated. "Honey, but you're very weak. You're shaking. You can't even stand on your feet." Pamela replied sharply, "Either you take me there, or I'll run away from the hospital and find my children myself." They went to the place where the search operation was going on. They talked to all the locals and showed pictures of the children, but no one had seen anything. Raymond was very upset. It was already getting dark outside. He coaxed Pamela, "Honey, we should go home. Tomorrow we'll continue the search." But Pamela pleaded, "No, I'm not leaving until I find my children. Please listen to me. Let's talk to the people again, please. Maybe someone noticed something strange." Raymond could not bear to see her unbearable suffering and agreed. They were about to leave, but suddenly they saw the edge of the forest. There was light in the windows, which meant that the owner was at home. Pamela immediately ran there, her heart pounding frantically. The door was opened by an elderly forester with a beard. He looked with surprise at the weeping woman and her companion, listened to their confused speech, thought for a moment, and then said, "I have lived here all my life and know every corner of this neighborhood. There is only one place where kidnappers can hide, the cabin by the swamp. People avoid this place, it's too scary. Follow me, I'll take my rifle with me just in case." They found this hut, looked around, and suddenly noticed a faint light in the window. Pamela cried out, but the forester put his finger to his lips. "Quiet, there's someone there. You guys wait here and I'll go inside and check it out. I'm a forester, if I show up in there, it won't be suspicious." Pamela held her breath and prayed that the kids would be okay. She watched from behind the bushes as the forester walked around the hut, then suddenly opened the door abruptly. Then they heard the sounds of fighting and gunfire. Pamela couldn't wait any longer and ran that way, and Raymond followed her. By the time they reached the place, the forester had already managed to tie the hands of one of the kidnappers. Pamela entered the hut and saw her children sitting on the bed, huddled together in terror. She ran over to them, hugged and kissed them. Happiness overwhelmed her. The kidnapper denied everything. "I didn't kidnap anyone. I wanted to save the children. I found them in an abandoned house in a nearby neighborhood. I saw some men dragging the children into the house. They were crying loudly. Then one of the men left and 2 men stayed to watch the children. I am not stupid. I realized right away that these were not their children and that they had probably kidnapped them. I chose the right moment when the kidnappers went somewhere. I took the kids and came here. I thought I would go to the police in the morning to tell them everything. It was already night. I was afraid to go anywhere in the woods at night. I swear I just wanted to save the kids." Pamela and Raymond took the children, and the forester said, "The police will sort it out." The man was turned over to the police, and Pamela finally took the children home. They were so happy to see their mommy, they hugged her with their arms. Tears were streaming down her face, but now they were tears of happiness. The police figured it all out. The man was not really a kidnapper, but a rescuer. He showed them where he had found the children. The police found evidence there, fingerprints and the real kidnappers. They were arrested. The kidnappers instantly pleaded guilty and named their boss. Olivia, Pamela's former mother-in-law, was also arrested. When the woman realized that her cunning plan had once again failed, with the children and her former sister-in-law once again unharmed, and she was about to be jailed, Olivia literally lost her mind. She was screaming profanities and completely losing her mind. They had to put her in a psychiatric hospital. Over time, she stopped recognizing people. It was a cruel but fitting retribution for all the evil she had done to Pamela. Dylan disappeared. Apparently he did something wrong again, and the gangsters found him. After all that happened, his father died of a heart attack and their rich and powerful family disappeared, all driven by hatred, greed, and spite. Pamela and Raymond decided to find the man who saved the children and thank him. If it wasn't for him, it could have ended fatally. They found him in one of the abandoned houses and invited him to visit them. The poor man was so tired of wandering around in abandoned buildings that he immediately agreed. He didn't even remember what a clean bed and a cozy house was like. Pamela gave her guests clean clothes and a towel and sent him to the bathroom, then set the table while Raymond played with the children. When dinner was ready, everyone sat down at the table. Raymond said, "Logan, you saved our kids, got them to safety, kept them warm. It's scary to even think about what those people wanted to do to them. You're a real hero. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up homeless? Maybe Pamela and I can help you." The man was visibly embarrassed. "It's a long story. Years ago I had everything. A wife, a daughter, a good job. I was living in another city, and then disaster struck. My workmate died because of my fault. He got electrocuted because of me. I went to prison, my wife left me for another man, and my daughter turned her back on me. When I was released, I had nowhere to live, no family, and because of my criminal record, no one wanted to hire me. I was doomed and became homeless. You know, I still can't sleep well. A coworker comes to me every night in nightmares. He stands there and looks at me reproachfully. Thank you for taking me in for a while. I had almost forgotten what it was like to be in a cozy home with my family." Pamela was saddened. She felt sorry for Logan. His fate had been so cruel. He wasn't a bad man, he was just unlucky. She talked to her husband and they decided that Logan should stay with their family. Pamela imagined he was the father she never knew and felt she had to help him. So they began to live together as a big happy family of 6. Logan loved to go out and play with the children. He seemed to have forgotten all of his problems. Even his appearance changed for the better. Pamela and Raymond told everyone that Pamela had found her father. Their relationship was very warm. Logan was eternally grateful to this family for letting a stranger into his life, for giving warmth and caring without asking for anything in return. Pamela and Raymond had also suffered a lot in their lives and knew how important it was when someone offered help in their most difficult moments. Thanks to Melanie and Raymond, things changed in Pamela's life. One day she thought she wouldn't survive, but she didn't give up. She managed to survive without her ex-husband and became a happy, loved and confident woman, not afraid of any difficulties. Raymond's noble act was also due to Christian's timely help. At that time he thought that nobody needed a lame man, but now he was the head of a large family, with a beloved woman and 3 charming children by his side. He loved them, and the children thought he was their real father. Pamela, Raymond and Logan had a difficult past. They valued every minute of pleasant communication and did not waste time on quarrels. It turned out that Logan loved fishing. He taught everyone how to fish, and now the family's favorite weekend activity was fishing. The men went fishing while the mother and children sunbathed. The woman looked lovingly at her children and thought, how foolish I was to be afraid of having 3 children. I thought I would never be able to cope with it, but it turned out that it was difficult only the first year. And now it's bliss. 3 little people love me and call me their mom. This is the best reward of my life.